Good evening. You're now with me, Andy Gui, for TVS Nightline. On to the headlining stories. Israel pounded Tehran with fresh strikes, and Iran targeted Kurdish guerrilla groups in Iraq today as a spiraling war engulfed the Middle East. A conflict ignited on Saturday with U.S.-Israeli attacks that killed Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has spread rapidly since, snarling global shipping and energy markets and sowing panic and chaos in previously safe haven Gulf nations.
In Lebanon, images showed buildings in rubble and plumes of black smoke drifting over Beirut after Israeli strikes aimed at the group Hezbollah. Reporters in Tehran heard fighter jets screaming across the skies in the west of the city and several explosions as Israel launched a fresh barrage. Earlier today, Tehran said it had hit Iraq-based Kurdish groups as the U.S. reportedly seeks to arm Iranian Kurdish guerrillas to infiltrate Iran. The strikes were further evidence of how the war is drawing in parties across the region and also further airfield. Australia deployed 2 military aircraft to the theatre, while Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney said he could not rule out his armed forces taking part in hostilities. The war has also dragged in NATO member Turkey after a missile launched from Iran was destroyed by NATO air defenses as it headed towards its airspace. The conflict even reached out the coast of Sri Lanka, where a U.S. submarine sank an Iranian warship, Washington's first torpedoing of a vessel since World War II. Sri Lankan officials said the strike killed at least 87 people, with 61 remaining missing. Iran's official IRNA news agency said 1,045 military personnel and civilians have been killed since the war began.
Asian stock markets plunged on Wednesday as investors panic sell amid fears that the Israel-US conflict with Iran will stoke inflation and weigh on the global economy. The sharpest losses are seen in Seoul, where the Kospi sinks more than 12% as investors unwind technology positions built up during the recent AI-driven rally. Trading on both the Kospi and Kosdaq is briefly halted after falling over 8%, with losses deepening when markets reopen. The benchmark records its worst two-day slump since the 2008 global financial crisis, erasing a significant portion of this year's gains. Meanwhile, oil prices climbed for a fifth straight day, rising more than 2% as the conflict fuels concerns over Middle East supply disruptions. Both Brent and West Texas Intermediate crude surged about 15% since Friday, with Brent topping $85 and WTI nearing $88. Analysts warned prices could approach $100 if tensions escalate. U.S. President Donald Trump says the U.S. Navy stands ready to escort oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz, a route that carries roughly 1/5 of global oil supplies, and orders insurance support for shipping. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guards claim the waterway is under the full control of the Islamic Republic's Navy. In Seoul, chip makers Samsung Electronics and SK Hynix, which spearhead this year's rally, tumbled 11.7% and 9.6% respectively. China says its defense budget will increase by 7% in 2026, in line with expectations but slightly lower than last year's rise. Beijing plans to spend more than 1.8 trillion yuan on defense, around 3 times less than the U.S. military budget. The increase marks a degree of continuity as Beijing pursues a sweeping anti-graft purge of the People's Liberation Army that included the ousting of top General Zhang Youjia in January. The budget would finance military salary increases, training, drills around Taiwan, cyber warfare capabilities, and advanced equipment purchases, among other things. China has maintained a steady increase in military spending of around 7 to 8% each year since 2016. Now back in Malaysia, State Tourism, Creative Industry and Performing Arts Minister Datuk Seri Abdul Karim Rahman Hamzah says the ongoing conflict in the Middle East has had a direct impact on Sarawak's tourism sector. According to him, Sarawak's tourism industry relies heavily on visitors from Europe, particularly Germany and the United Kingdom, two of the state's key source markets.
If this thing drags on for a long time, of course it will be affected. It will affect our Rainforest World Music Festival in June. Many might cancel it. We never know because June is already very close by. The planning. Dan selain daripada itu, mereka daripada Malaysia yang nak bercuti di Turki, dari Europe, di UK, they might have to cancel their flight. They might go elsewhere, Korea, Japan, kemungkinan tak mahu pergi ke sebelah Timur Tengah ataupun Barat.
The ongoing tensions in the Middle East have also disrupted the travel plans of Sarawak Tourism's delegation to the ITB Berlin Travel Trade Show. Several representatives who were supposed to attend the exhibition had to cancel their trips due to disrupted flights, affecting efforts to promote Sarawak internationally. Meanwhile, on Sarawakians stranded overseas, Abdul Karim says if the situation worsens and poses safety or life-threatening risks, the Malaysian government may take steps to bring them home.
Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim calls on Malaysia to fully utilise the peace and stability the country currently enjoys to further strengthen national development. He says Malaysia's relatively stable environment, compared with unrest affecting several regions of the Islamic world, is a key advantage that should be maximised. According to him, this situation stands in contrast to the conflicts and tensions seen in parts of the world, including developments in the Arab Gulf involving Iran, as well as the ongoing suffering faced by Muslims in Gaza. Anwar also stresses that the peace and unity enjoyed today must be translated into stronger national development grounded in moral values, justice and humanity.
Bagi Malaysia yang punyai kedudukan yang jauh lebih baik dari masa ke semasa dan relatif sangat aman, alhamdulillah, ketimbang perkembangan-perkembangan yang kita lihat di rantau, umpamanya sekarang di Teluk Arab dengan Iran dan dengan derita, sengsara umat Islam Gaza. Kita lihat ada keadaan yang unik, yang tersendiri, maka manfaatkanlah kekuatan ini.
Sarawak is sending local PhD students to Australia to spearhead critical research into rabies vaccines and other infectious diseases. State Education, Innovation and Talent Development Minister Datuk Seri Roland Sagawi Ind confirms the strategic partnership has received the official green light from the Australian government. The research scope also extends to combating tuberculosis and improving early cancer detection for women.
We have an arrangement with the Australian government to send them to Murdoch University. One of is, of course, to study to do research to do vaccines, and because Murdoch University is doing the research in Indonesia on rabies, so we want to ride on that also. But of course, it's not just for rabies. For other diseases also, including even COVID-19.
Health Minister Zulkifli Ahmad recently confirmed a 44-year-old man died from a rabies infection in Kota Samarahan on February 25th, marking the nation's first recorded fatality from the disease this year. This latest case brings the nationwide total to 91 since 2017, with 84 fatalities reflecting a staggering 93% death rate. The Department of Veterinary Services Sarawak Director, Datuk Dr. Adrian Susin Ambut, says the victim regularly fed stray dogs, including one that died suddenly in early February.
Mangsa tidak pergi ke hospital selepas digigit anjing. Apabila mangsa pergi ke klinik dengan simptom yang ada, itu sudah terlambat. Jadi saya merayu ataupun memohon semua pemilik anjing ataupun untuk pergi segera ke pejabat veterina yang terdekat untuk mendapatkan suntikan rabies kepada anjing masing-masing.
The victim, a laborer who lived alone, began experiencing symptoms on February 15, including difficulty walking, loss of appetite, and severe weakness. Once admitted to the Sarawak General Hospital, his condition rapidly deteriorated, leading to his passing on February 25 after several days on ventilatory support.
Meanwhile, design is said to be introduced into the dual language program DLP for secondary schools, with full implementation expected within the next 2 years. State Minister for Education, Innovation and Talent Development, Roland Sagawi-In, confirms the move following a technical committee meeting on MA 63. The expansion will involve upper secondary schools in Form 4 and Form 5 starting in 2028.
The first batch is in 3 years' time.
In 3 years' time?
No, 2 years plus. Because now, already in Form 1, the first group last time.
The government is allocating 67 million ringgit this year to implement a price standardization program for goods in Sabah and Sarawak through a port-to-port initiative. Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, Dr. Fuzia Saleh, says the allocation serves as a subsidy for transporting goods from ports in Peninsular Malaysia to major ports in Sabah and Sarawak.
So far, 1,570 interior locations have been identified as needing points of sale, with 1,480 located in Sabah and Sarawak.
Di mana 1,480 berada di Sabah dan Sarawak. Dan di Baram, kawasan YB Abun, ada 142 point of sale. Jadi, ni kawasan pendalaman, ya. Jadi apabila kita ni bajet 250 juta tadi kita berikan kepada transporter yang perlu melalui proses tender untuk mendapat subsidi untuk membawa barang-barang keperluan asas tadi ke kawasan pendalaman, ke point of sale.
Meanwhile, the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living has completed a price stability study, confirming that geographical factors, infrastructure and logistics are the main challenges in controlling prices in Sabah and Sarawak. A technical working group on price stabilization involving the federal government, state governments and industry players has also been formed to study additional measures to stabilize prices in the future.
Wrapping up the Nightline, a 43-year-old local man was hauled to the SARAWAK Magistrates Court to face a capital charge for the murder of a senior citizen in July last month. The accused is alleged to have committed the fatal act at Sungai Ran and Tabai on February 24th.
The charge, framed under Section 302 of the Penal Code, carries the death penalty or imprisonment of up to 40 years and a minimum of 12 strokes of the cane. Beyond the murder charge, the suspect faces count for criminal intimidation against the deceased child and the unlawful discharge of a firearm under the Arms Act 1960. Deputy Public Prosecutor Aiman Zarid Zarulail did not offer bail as the case involves a non-bailable offence. Magistrate Stella Augustine Roos ordered the accused to remain in custody and fixed May 5th for further mention of the case.
And those were the updates on TVS Nightline. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.